Have you ever had that feeling that maybe what you really strongly imagine could actually somehow influence what happens?
Yeah, it sounds a bit out there, doesn't it? Like something from a movie.
Exactly. But what if it wasn't fantasy? What if consciously using your imagination was like a real skill, a way to, shape outcomes or even just change how you feel about things now?
That's the intriguing part. The idea that our inner world, our imagination, isn't just like background noise, that it's actually active, a force.
Right.
And that's what we're digging into today, isn't it? This whole concept from Neville Goddard, specifically his technique called I Remember When.
Yeah, we've got some excerpts from his lectures.
Yeah.
Going to try and really unpack how this is supposed to work.
So it's kind of a practical guide almost.
I think so.
Hmm.
The mission here is to understand this technique, not just wishful thinking, but actually using imagination to make changes, or maybe just shift your whole perspective on your current situation.
Okay, makes sense. Giving people a tool to think about, maybe experiment with.
Yeah, exactly. So where does this whole I remember when thing even come from for Goddard? Did he just think it up?
Well, he describes this really powerful personal revelation. It started with a dream, apparently.
A dream, okay.
Yeah, super vivid one. He dreamt he was in this, really grand old mansion in New York City, like Gilded Age stuff.
Wow, okay.
And he's aware in the dream, which is interesting. And the son of the guy who owns the mansion is talking to his kids about their grandfather.
Following you.
And the son says something like, your grandfather, he used to stand on an empty plot of land and just declare, I remember when this was an empty lot.
Huh. Just like that. I remember when.
Just like that. But crucially, while saying it, the grandfather was intensely picturing the building he wanted there. Apparently, she imagined it so strongly, the son said, that people listening could almost see it too.
Whoa.
And this grandfather, well, he was the one who built the family's fortune. So the implication is this technique, this imaginative act, was powerful for him.
Okay, that's pretty compelling. One dream, one story.
But then it gets reinforced. Goddard has a second dream, kind of an echo of the first one.
Another one, okay.
But this time, he is the grandfather. He's standing there on the empty lot.
He's the grandfather.
Yeah, and he says the words, I remember when this was an empty lot. But this time, it's not just hearing about it, he feels it. He experiences the building taking shape, like the materials forming based on his inner picture.
Wow, so he experienced the manifestation within the dream itself.
Exactly. And Goddard saw this doubling of the dream as really significant. He connected it to, the biblical idea that if a dream repeats, it's established, it's confirmed by God.
Ah, right. So the second dream locked it in for him. This wasn't just a random thought. It was a principle.
That's how he took it. A demonstration of the creative power of focused imagination. It felt real, established.
Okay, so this power, this principle, it sounds constructive, building mansions from empty lots. But I guess, like any power, it could cut both ways.
Absolutely. Goddard is very clear on this. The I remember when principle itself is neutral. It's all about how you use it, where you focus your imaginative energy.
So give me an example of the other side.
Well, imagine standing in, say, the ruins of a building. You could look around and think, feeling the loss, I remember when this was a glorious building. And look at it now.
Ah, okay. So you're using the memory, but focusing on the decline.
Precisely. That's using it, you could say, destructively, reinforcing the negative state. But
You could also stand on that same rubble.
right, and say, feeling the new vision, I remember when this was all rubble, while intensely imagining a beautiful new building there. That's the constructive use.
Okay, I see the contrast.
He gives other examples too, like thinking of a friend and saying, I remember when he had nothing, and now look at him, assuming the feeling of their success. That's positive.
Versus.
Versus, I remember when he had so much, and now he's so poor.
Yeah.
You're focusing consciousness on the lack.
It really puts the responsibility on the person imagining, doesn't it?
Totally. Even something seemingly innocent, like, I remember when she was healthy, could subtly imply she isn't now, depending on the feeling you invest in it.
Whereas I remember when they were unknown clearly implies they're known now.
Exactly. It's about the feeling and the focus of your awareness when you use that memory trigger. The power is in your conscious direction of it.
This really elevates imagination, doesn't it? It's not just daydreaming. Goddard connects it to something much bigger.
Oh, absolutely. This is central to his whole teaching. He essentially equates our human imagination with the creative power of God itself. In his framework, he often refers to this power as Jesus Christ, interpreting scripture through that lens.
Okay, that's a big leap for some people.
Yeah.
How does he square that, like the whole idea of Christ returning?
Well, his perspective is quite radical, really. He argues that Christ, understood as this creative, imaginative power, never actually left.
Never left.
Yeah. He'd point to verses like, "Lo, I am with you always," and ask, well, if this power is always with us, how can it return from somewhere else?
Okay, so what does going away mean, then, in his view? Like Christ ascending?
His interpretation is that going away or becoming invisible means that this creative power becomes inherent within us. It becomes our own consciousness, our own imagination.
So Christ becomes
Yeah.
me, my imagination.
Essentially, yes. That's the core of his interpretation. It's not an external figure, but the divine creative capacity residing within every individual.
And he even identified himself as the Father. That sounds bold.
It does, but he explained it not as personal ego, but as embodying that ultimate creative source that dwells within. He used John 14, "I go away and I will come to you," to illustrate this. The going away is the power becoming seemingly hidden as your imagination, and the coming to you is the awakening to that power within yourself.
So it's an internal realization of a power that's always been there.
That's the idea, recognizing the divine spark, the creative engine within you.
Okay, fascinating framework. But let's get practical again. How do we actually use "I remember when" to, say, get out of a situation we don't like?
Right, the application. It's about using the phrase as a mental lever. Let's take an example. Maybe you're feeling worried about money.
Okay, a common one.
So to use this technique, you'd first need to mentally step into the feeling of already having financial security. Really feel what that's like.
Feel the relief, the ease.
Yes. And from that feeling state, you then say to yourself internally, "I remember when I was worried about money."
So the "I remember when" refers back to the unwanted state, but from the perspective of the desired one.
Exactly. The statement itself implies that the old state is past. It's history in your inner world because you're currently occupying the feeling of the new state.
He gave some other examples, right? Like with health or relationship.
Yeah, clear ones. If a friend is sick, you'd vividly imagine them healthy and vibrant and feel that reality. Then say inwardly, "I remember when he wasn't well."
Or for a single daughter.
You'd imagine her happily married, feel the joy of that, and affirm, "I remember when she was single."
So the key is the mental shift first, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then the verbal tag as a contrast to the past.
Precisely. It's an active mental movement out of the old state by recalling it from the viewpoint of the new. And Goddard's point is, if you stay faithful to that new awareness, that feeling,
Then reality catches up.
that's the principle. Events will start to unfold, circumstances will shift to align with your sustained inner state, your dominant imaginative reality. Your inner conviction shapes the outer reflection.
He talks about movement and resistance too, relating to this. How does that fit in?
Yeah, it's an interesting analogy he uses. He says we only detect motion by seeing something change position relative to something fixed.
Like watching a car move past a tree. The tree is fixed.
Right. And in this imaginative process, the memory of the old state acts like that fixed reference point.
Right.
So he uses the example of someone who's, say, weak or sick. That's the fixed memory. If you then assume the state of them being strong and healthy and you declare, "I remember when he was sick," you've mentally moved relative to that fixed memory.
Your inner perspective has shifted position.
Exactly. And this shift, he suggests, can be so profound that others who hold the old memory of you might even perceive you differently. You might seem almost unrecognizable if your inner state has truly changed.
And what about resistance? That sounds counterintuitive. Doesn't resistance stop movement?
You'd think so, but he uses the analogy of a car again. You need friction, resistance between the tires and the road to actually move forward, right?
Yeah, otherwise you just spin your wheels.
So similarly, when you really commit to a new imaginative state, sometimes the resistance you feel, maybe doubts from others, maybe even their envy because they remember you differently, can actually paradoxically help propel you forward if you hold fast to your inner vision.
As long as you don't let the resistance derail your inner state.
Right. You use it as fuel, almost.
This all comes back to responsibility, though. If this is so powerful, using it ethically seems paramount.
Hugely important. Goddard really stresses using this power lovingly for mutual benefit. He even shares a cautionary tale about his own brother.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Well, his brother apparently had a passing thought about a business owner seeming tired, maybe wanting out. Nothing malicious, just an observation. But shortly after, circumstances unfolded where his brother ended up acquiring that very business.
Wow, just from an idle thought.
It seemed that way. And another story about his father commenting on some undeveloped land, just a casual remark. Years later, that land became developed exactly as his father had mused about.
It really highlights how potent even seemingly small imaginative acts or inner conversations can be.
It does. It emphasizes that the real movement, the crucial change, happens inside first. And staying faithful to that new inner awareness, hopefully directed with love, is key.
So wrapping this up a bit, it feels like there's more to this than just, getting stuff.
Yeah.
Goddard saw these revelations, these dreams, as pointing to something deeper.
Oh, definitely. He viewed these insights coming through dreams and intense inner experiences as tapping into a source of knowledge far more profound than just, everyday information or media.
A deeper wellspring.
Yeah. And he keeps circling back to the idea that this creative power, this imagination or Christ within, isn't something far off. It's inherent in everyone and will eventually awaken fully in all of us.
He knew it wasn't always easy, though.
For sure. He acknowledged the challenges, but kept offering the core principle, the law, as he saw it. Whatsoever you desire, believe you have received it, and you will. Simple, but maybe not easy to consistently live by.
Right. And he saw this reflected elsewhere, too. You mentioned Blake.
Yes, he felt William Blake's poem, The Mental Traveler, was basically an allegory for this whole inner journey of the awakening imagination.
They're biblical themes, too.
He connected, I remember when, to the core experiences described symbolically in Scripture, things like resurrection, finding the son David, ascension, the dove descending. He saw these as representing stages of restored memory, of remembering our true creative nature.
And the ultimate source of all this understanding for him.
Was God the Father within? That foundational creative power inside each person, it leads back to that sense of unity he often quoted.
I am in my Father, and my Father is in me.
And I am in you, and you are in me, for we are one. That interconnectedness through the shared divine imagination.
So, boiling it down, I remember when, is really a technique for consciously using imagination to rewrite your perception of the past from the viewpoint of your desired present.
Yeah, it's about feeling the wish fulfilled now and then using the memory of the unwanted state as proof almost that you've moved beyond it internally. You anchor yourself in the new reality by framing the old one as definitively past.
It's definitely an invitation to be more deliberate, more conscious about where we're placing our imaginative focus.
For sure. It really prompts you to think, doesn't it? Which leads to maybe the final thought for anyone listening.
Yeah.
What specific, I remember when statement could you personally start feeling and embodying today, right now, to begin creating the reality you truly desire? What past state are you ready to leave behind in your imagination?
Powerful question to sit with. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today.